Okay, 24 watts. Will it invert a feed dipole or more than 40 meter, over? Okay.
This is an unscripted video, which I haven't really thought about, but, well, so move on. Feel free to move on, right? Because all I'm going to do is talk through the rest of my project in the field for the next couple of months and what I need to do inside before we can kind of launch a proper two-station business, both remote and both reliable, with the intent of protecting the relays. That's my real big problem. Right, so my Pocket 3, so there's my Pocket 2, right, from DJI. I repaired that one on a video. Well, did I? I nearly broke it. I took it apart and put a new battery in it. So this lasts me, I don't know, I get about an hour and a half on that. But the Pocket 3 was really nice. I prefer the image quality. It's a bigger screen. And that's, well, it's not broken, but the head thing, when you switch it on, the little lens goes brrr, and that's kind of stuck. I have to push it with my fingers. So I got in touch with Amazon. That's just gone back today. They'll get that this week, and then I've got to wait 20 days. So what I had to do is recommission some old cameras that I just don't use. Now this is a fantastic camera. This is the Canon 80D. I really like it. I have used this for streaming. And as a test, I've put a little stereo microphone on the top. So I'm not close mic'd, right? Might be a bit echoey, although we've got a ton of acoustic foam in here. But anyway, let me just talk through. So the field is worrying me because I've got Mast 2 up. I can put that up and down. But we need to kind of take it apart because last week I took off the aluminium pole from the falling derrick on Mast 1 to use as the top of Mast 2. So I've got to do that. So that'll probably be a video. But as I'm doing that, I'll take the Yagi off, which is just a piece of artwork at the moment. It doesn't work or anything. We need to put the elements down according to the maths. And then I'm going to get a little hacksaw, and I'm going to cut the fiberglass down, put a bit of heat shrink over the ends to stop, you know, it splintering anymore. So I'm hoping that'll just work straight out the box, fingers crossed. So that will be 15 meters, and that will be at about 12.5 meters height. But I've just noticed we're going to have a couple of meters between the top guy level and that. So maybe I could put a little 2 meter Yagi just there as a test to see what happens. I've got one that Justin from Innov Antennas sent me a long time ago. He sent me a 2 and a 70, and I didn't want any more than 3 meters long. I don't know what it's like. It's just not more than 3 meters. I've got a 70 as well. Maybe I could put a 70, the 2, then the 70, and then the 15. And there'll be 6, you see, eventually on the 15. The real problem I've got is if you take a, oh, I haven't got anything around here, but if that is my boom, okay, and I want to put some little fiberglass elements across the top, okay, cheap, you know, I mean, I can't quite use cable ties. I was thinking of using a little alloy plate and one of those Stouff connector things. We'll see, whatever. So once that's up and running, Rolly is my test bed for my remote operator. I still haven't given him access to the rotator controller because on the main mast 1, I've had to tighten the ropes so hard on mast 1 because they're stretchy ropes, right? I think I've got even I'm over-spec'd on the downward pressure onto the rotator. But even when I wasn't, sometimes I would click the Rotator Genius button and it would go halfway and stop. Now I know there's a current sensor inside. I keep meaning to write to the plumbing factory actually to say, can I back off the current sensor? Because I think what it's doing, it's going, oh, I've hit the end stop, and it shuts, and it hasn't hit the end stop. Mind you, I haven't specified an end stop, which you can do, and maybe that might help. Maybe then it would go, well, I'm not at the end stop, so I'll just push through it. Okay, hang on, I've just worked it out, I'll do that. So then we'll have 15 on one tower, 10, 20 on the other tower. 40, we've got a couple of options. We've got the delta loop, we've got a loop on the ground, we've got the 4-square, and I've got a DX Commander vertical, which I'm going to remove completely. I want an 80-meter mono bander there. I'm going to build a signature 9. I was going to put it at the bottom of the field, actually. Signature 9. And connect it to station 1 and 2 on a temporary basis, because that was going to be the basis of station 3, a little 100-watt station that people come onto and just faff about. And I was going to make a video about this, but I think I made a video about the bandpass filters, I'm pretty sure. But a modern high-end radio, if you look, I looked at the not the user guide, the PR brochure stuff for Kenwood 990. And the reason I looked at it is because there's a board inside a 990 full of ferrites and coils and everything. There's already, on a high-end radio, very good bandpass filters. And when last year, I think it was, or the year before, Jonathan came up with a 7610, he put it over there. I think he was on 20 and I was on 40. We didn't have the bandpass filters. But now the 7610 is a pretty high-end radio and the 990 is a pretty high-end radio. I've got a funny feeling we've already got exceptional filtering on the transmit and receive side. And I think sometimes that you pay for what you get. If you take like a 7300, which is, I believe, don't kill me on this, right, which is very much SDR based, it's kind of wide open to an extent, I think. And then the software goes, oh, that's the signal we're after, and so on. I don't think for the money they can put the sort of bandpass filtering in that we've got on a big, what I call flagship radio. I mean, you know, well, it's more expensive, right? They can go, well, we got the money, let's put this big board in with all these filters. I guess, I don't know, right? But I know like a Flex, that'll have bandpass filters in it. It might be an SDR, but it's pre-select. I'm on 20-meter band, so it goes, right, let's only give him 20, you know. Let's go back out to the field a minute. I'm all over the shop. Right, just join me. Have a coffee or something. Sit down over there. What else have I got to do? I just need to talk to somebody, you know, because sometimes I think I can't, I phoned Tom, M0RMY, annoyed shit out of him. I phoned Mike, M0MSN. I phoned Jonathan, M0JSX. And in the main, they're the people I bug the most, because I've got a 20-minute run between here and the house. So I get in the car at, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I think, which one will I annoy? But anyway, I'm not annoying them today. Oh, and I've got James as well, F0YOM. I annoy him a lot. Right, back to the field. So 160 meters is currently on a fan dipole. We got 80 and then 160 on this kind of fan, horseshoe. And it's proportionally very low to the ground. So it's 160 meters the wavelength, and it is 10 meters off the ground. So it's the equivalent of being like 2.5 meters off the ground on 40 meters. And it's a horseshoe. So although I haven't measured it, I am fairly convinced that my impedance is somewhere between 20 and 30 ohms. Now, it was Matt Hare, H-E-E-R-E. Matt, I never know how to pronounce your family name, your surname, who said you could turn it into an off-center fed horseshoe dipole, and proportionally the impedance will come back up to 50 ohms. How much to chop off? I don't know. I've done some calculations. I think about 6 meters. So I take 6 meters off one of the horseshoe bits and move it over to this side and extend that length. So 80 meters will still be, a regular dipole, because it's fan dipole, single feed, and then 160 will be slightly offset. So I've got to do that as well. And then the real big job, which is frightening me, because on the back of a lot of high-end radios, you've got the ability to plug a jack in to drive a linear amplifier. So in other words, when I only transmit, a signal comes out, normally just to ground, and you can fire the radio. Now, for whatever reason, and I am beyond trying to understand it, So there's 3 or 4 different ways of doing that on a 990. One is with a high, active high it's called, which is basically sending 12 volts down the line. I don't know why, but that quite happily triggers the amplifier. If I just switch it to a normal relay, it doesn't switch the amplifier. Yet, if I just short the plug out on the back of the amplifier, it triggers it. And I'm thinking, maybe I was fed up thinking about this. Do I just make a box, right? Plug the radio into the box and have various outputs so I can have 12 volts or not 12 volts to fire the amplifier. Because I'll tell you what I'm trying to do. And I got so far and then I fried a 990. Can you believe it? I'll tell you how. It was the PTT lockout project. What I'm supposed to do is go from the back of the radio out to the field, tell the switch on a connector, tell the switch that I've just hit the push to talk or Vox or whatever else. The switch freezes, so you cannot now change one of the coax switches, because if you're transmitting and change your antenna, there's a chance that as the relay opens up, it'll fry an arc, and then I've got to send it back or get a relay and a man in, because it's probably all soldering and boards and everything else. I have to send it down to Mike. I got that bit working, and then there's a PTT in and a PTT out. I put the PTT out because I'm not just using Ethernet for this, because that'll give me 4 circuits, right? Because there's 8 wires. Came back, and on the multimeter all this works, and I plugged that into the amplifier. It wouldn't trigger. So I just don't know why it won't trigger, right? And in the process of doing all this, I thought I would measure the voltage, if it was active high, coming out the back of the 990, and accidentally shorted out the center pin to the body of the phono lead, and that fried a board. Now I'm like terrified of putting anything in, right? So I really need a box with a protection circuit in it that doesn't allow for a short circuit to happen, because the repair was £1,300, and I had to plead with Wendy. It was either write it off and buy another one or get it repaired. So I'm just terrified, right? I think I need a little box, okay, where we plug it into, we apply power to the box, we put a protection circuit in it. If this is your thing, you want to make me a box, I'll pay for the bits. You film it and then we can put it out, and so on and so forth. But I'll need 3 or 4 of them. And I'll tell you what the spec is. What else did I want to do? Oh yeah, so we need to route the Ethernet all the way around to the other side of the field, but a lot of the fence posts, the old fence against the wood, are all falling apart, and I didn't want to nail the Ethernet to that, it's all going to fall off. So I've got the old fence posts that used to be part of field 1. I've still got them, they're perfectly good, and I've got one of those big post hammerer inners. I thought I'll replace the posts. I could ask John, right, the site manager, but I thought I'll just do that one day. Then I can put Ethernet all the way around. It's just another job. And then the woods, the little forest area, which isn't my responsibility, but I'm in and out of it the whole time. I just want to tidy that up. And what's the other thing I've been doing? So yeah, so we've got the little comms, I call it the Coax distribution shed. There's quite a lot of stuff, all my tools are in there. We've got the switches, the rotator controllers, we've got Ethernet, we've got a switch, a camera, all sorts. 12 volts, 24 volts, mains in there. But I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to have like an 8 by 10 or 2 by 3 meter shed? We'd either replace the little comms distribution cabinet, that was cheap as chips by the way, or do we put a new one in? But I looked on the internet, bloody expensive, and I thought, well, I could buy the wood for half the price, and I could have a lot of fun in all my spare time building a shed in the forest. We could put a little base down with gravel or something, or probably elevate it with those screw things, and some big timbers. put a shed on the top, maybe. And then you could buy some of that Celotex, is it? 2-inch or whatever foam boards. We could put do the roof and the walls and the floor. And then before you know it, I've got a shack in the woods, you know. But if I'm going to go to that extent, I might as well then just replace the little comm shed and put it there. Maybe that's something for next year. I don't know. There's a whole host of other stuff. I want to get more people on the remote, you see. And I want to make it as simple as possible. And I don't want them. Everything is protects itself. Everything is completely automatic. You cannot fry anything around here. Apart from the relays in the Genius. Oh, I know there was another thing. So I've been thinking about this. So I'm not talking a direct strike, a direct lightning strike to any of that gear out there, and I think the station might get fried because it's very difficult to protect against a direct strike. And I'll tell you I know why. I was hit in, I don't know, must have been 7 or 8 years ago. The house. It was an IMAX 2000 CB antenna, and it hit that completely, boom. And it went everywhere, right? The whole house. To the point that there was stuff in boxes that was not plugged in, was fried. And the insurance claim, it was Liverpool and Victoria, they call themselves LV.com. I was insured through them. And I phoned up and said, we've just been hit by lightning and one of the light switches is blown, all the electric's gone off. It did come back on. And they sent a man round the next day. The man, by the way, was only to check the electrics, and he fixed a few things. And they knew we had been hit at exactly the time I said, because you know the live lightning map. Well, there's a if you're an insurance company, you can subscribe to like a history database, so you can go, oh yes, at that time he really was hit by lightning. So they never sent a loss adjuster or anything. They gave me a named person, I had a phone number and everything. And although the ACOM 2000 is still working, but was connected to the back of my radio which had blown up, I said to Martin Lynch, could you just check through it? And they said, we'll not check it. If it's been hit by lightning, we're not touching it. So I phoned LV again and I said, they've said they want to write it off, because we know that lightning's gone through and it's probably shortened its life. So fine, what is it? I said it's an ACOM 2000A. She looked it up. She said, okay, well, I'll just add £4,900 to the claim. I mean, it got, I can't remember how much, but eventually one day she said, do you think that's it? And I went, yes. She said, because if you do, say now, I'll close it off and I'll send you the cheque. And it was over £26,000. Microwaves, fridges, electric toothbrushes, I lost a lot. Back to lightning. So I have found, it begins with an M, I have found 3 kilowatt lightning surge protector things. And because the field, and I'll run through the grounding with you one day, because the field is very well grounded, right, by plugging this stuff in, it might save a direct hit. But certainly for a close hit, you know, within 50 yards, you know, that surge that just comes through like this, and the rise time on a lightning strike is so fast, it would be protected. Maybe we could be protected, I don't know. But the trouble is, I've got 8 antenna ports. So if I want to protect all the Genius switches, I need 8 of these. Or I could say, well, that's disposable. I'll just protect my 2 transmit lines to protect these. I just think that's for the price. I spoke to Wendy the other day. She said, how much will it be? I said, it'll be about £500. So we'll just do it. Because you've got to remember, I don't have my own purse strings. Otherwise, it would be broke. I always ask Wendy. So I think I've written to this company. I can't remember who it is. If you're prepared to wait, I will track it down for you. There we are, Morgan Systems. But I have written to them to say, I want 8 of these things, and can I get a deal? I always ask for a deal, you know. And then, of course, then the other thing we haven't protected, because there's a few things coming back from the shed to here. I've got 2 Ethernet lines. We need to protect them. And then they also do a little device where you can just connect wires and it will ground everything in the event of a surge. You know, I think they say do a 12-way block. things like rotators, my PTT lockout project. I mean, that would take out 4, wouldn't it? So I might get one of them as well. But I also need Ubiquity do a little lightning thing. But the bottom line is I've got a big aluminium strip across the bottom of the shed outside. And what we could do is, and I've got everything grounded to there anyway, but I could bolt these things to there. Oh, I've just thought I'll need 8 patch leads then, because we'd take in and we got in and out, haven't we? Oh well, I'll deal with that. surgestop.com it's called, and they do some quite nice stuff. I'll put a link in the description. I remember at the beginning of the summer I said to Tom, you know, I've got all this to do and I'm really worried and everything else. He's going, Callum, you've got all summer. I'm going, yeah, I know. That's the bloody problem, because it'll soon be October, the end of October, and I want to be flat out for CQ worldwide. Oh, we've got IOTA, the IOTA Contest coming up as well, which is July sometime. So that's about a month away. I want to do a whole 24 hours and see if I can beat last year's record. That was quite good fun, actually. I actually enjoyed that. I slept upstairs in F2. And then we got the open day in August the 15th. Edgar's confirmed. Emily will be here, M7 ELM, M6 ELM. Emily will be here. She's got her Nebula t-shirt, and she'll be the film cameraman. She'll be coming and interview you and things like that. So I'm looking forward to going home and seeing what the footage is like on this. It looks, on the monitor, it looks a bit washed out, so I might have to lift it up a bit. We'll see. Oh yeah, the other thing is I've got some videos in the pipe, right? Because I did video a couple of days ago about using both VFOs for separating the stereo image on 2 different antennas. And a couple of people are sort of yawning. Diversity reception. Diversity reception is exactly the opposite of what I'm doing. I was actually separating out to give you a stereo image. Diversity reception is in a way completely different but the same. What you're trying to do is compare 2 different antennas and radios, right? Bring them into one, phase align them completely, and reduce fading, right? What I was trying to do is actually encourage the fading so I could hear better on one side than the other. Whatever. So I thought I'd make a video about diversity reception. I thought I'd make a video about the grounding as well. It's a couple of people. Somebody wanted a little video on Wi-Fi antennas, just because it's 40 meters, you need a massive grey antenna, but on 2.4 gigahertz you only need, you know, antenna that big. That'd be quite good. And we've got a Wi-Fi point already out in the field, and I could like put strips of wire, you know, make a 5-element Yagi on a bit of cardboard, things like that. Loads of stuff. I use ChatGPT to track all my projects, and you know, I go, you know, like the lightning thing, I find, you know, Morgan Systems, so I send a link. So when I go, right, I'm ready to do the lightning ground protection project, what are all the resources I need, and he just spews them out for me, which is pretty good. There we are. Well, that's enough of a test for me to be able to see whether this microphone camera works, and I've bored the shit out of you for long enough. Thanks for having a cup of coffee and chilling out with me. All right, I'll see you all soon, guys. All the best now. Bye for now.